And we're looking at these images of the delegation and Nancy Pelosi. They are stepping out of the aircraft. Some would argue this is truly historic. Nancy Pelosi lands in Taipei despite China's warning, despite the Chinese President Xi Jinping warning the US President Joe Biden, don't play with fire, you'll get burnt. Despite that, Nancy Pelosi has landed. Also joining me on the broadcast is Sana Hashmi. She's a visiting fellow at the Taiwan Asia Exchange Foundation. Sana Hashmi, how do you see this development? Despite China's warning, Nancy Pelosi has touched down. Is this staring the dragon down, ma'am?
I think it's a very good development. First, it actually shows that US is standing with Taiwan, and it's a great show of support for Taiwan. And if you look at Taiwan's response for the past 2 days, what we have seen is Taiwan didn't really comment on it. Taiwan was playing low-key. But as soon as Taiwan realized and Taiwan got to know that the plane is going to be safe, they made an announcement. Taipei 101 was lit up, and there was a message for Pelosi, welcome to Taiwan. And they were live telecasting her arrival. And even Joseph Wu, he went to the airport. I think these developments it actually shows that Taiwan is really not playing low-key anymore. So I believe that the visit is really not symbolic at all, and there's going to be huge impact on Taiwan's international space and how other countries are going to view Taiwan from now.
Okay, very interesting you say that, and we are staying on these images full frame for a moment. Nancy Pelosi steps out of the Boeing 737 being received by the Foreign Minister of Taiwan. Now she is leading a delegation of congressmen and congresswomen and senators as they reach Taipei. Remember, many in the United States have also opposed this visit, saying that this could actually put Taiwan in harm's way. There are some who are saying that there is not much to be achieved. In fact, US President Joe Biden also indicated that the forces were not in favor of this. Now, Executive Director Signal, Caris Vitti, also joins us on the show. And Carison, your appreciation, what do you make of these images of Nancy Pelosi and the delegation stepping down of the aircraft, reaching Taiwan, and soon they will be meeting the president? What signal goes out to the world?
Prior to her arrival, the comments made by President Xi and Global Times and the Defense Minister of China all were fire and intensity, and we see that, and the Western interpretation of that was, will there be war? A lot of people were afraid that this would spark a war. It was clear to people who follow China, such as myself, that that could not happen because of the situation within China with the 20th Party Congress around the corner, stability necessary, and war would not be conducive to the setting that was needed for Xi Jinping to gain his third term. Seeing Pelosi land with congressmen, given who she is and how all of this transpired, we can understand that, first of all, the West should readjust its interpretation of China's commentary. It's very important to look at what's happening inside China to understand what the messaging actually means, and not to lean overboard, which could aggravate potential conflagration. At the same time, we do see and expect that the Chinese are going to react by live fire exercises, perhaps when she leaves, by having these overflights come closer and closer to the border of what is acceptable prior to a real military response. And in general, I think the smart question you asked is symbolic or not, and we heard two different perspectives. I think yes, from the American side, it's more symbolic and wasn't necessary to symbolize the movement of the United States on its strategic ambiguity. On the other hand, perhaps on the Taiwan side, it is not symbolic, and it might spark a development in Taiwan's, how Taiwan sees China, how it takes seriously the question of China's interest in unifying the two sides and what kind of preparations it might make. You mentioned earlier that the pilots are going to be exhausted and not being able to have time for training and other things. Bring in more pilots. I mean, coming from Israel, I can tell you, with very few people and very few resources, you can accomplish a lot. And I think it's well known globally how much Israel is able to accomplish with so few resources. And
that's a very important point to make. But if I may, are you saying that this signals the end of that strategic ambiguity that the United States talked about? But after all, she's the House Speaker. She's neither President nor the Vice President of the United States of America. Is this the end of strategic ambiguity, or
not at all? Not at all. It is
not
just another. Another addition to the ambiguous strategy of the United States, which I think, frankly, the U.S. has been very ambiguous in its strategy all over the place. Everyone says the United States is leaving the Middle East. And then Biden comes here, goes to Saudi Arabia, comes to Israel, starts this I2U2 with India.
Yes.
The U.S. is back and in a new way. And I think you might see that as well in Taiwan.
Okay.